Let us reflect on this truth. Life will not spare you from being hurt. Sometimes it is not the stranger on the street who wounds you, but the very person you allowed closest to your heart. And when a woman hurts you through betrayal, harsh words, neglect, or broken trust, the pain runs deeper than any sword, because the wound is not on the skin, it is in the soul. Now, what happens when you carry such a wound? Many men, without realizing, allow the pain to take the form of bitterness. They replay the event in their minds 1,000 times, searching for answers, searching for justice, searching for closure that never comes. They make the mistake of becoming the wound itself. Every word, every thought, every emotion begins to revolve around what she did, how she treated them, how unfair it was. But listen carefully, you cannot heal by becoming the wound. You can only heal by stepping outside of it. To handle a woman who hurt you is not about controlling her actions or demanding her apology. It is about reclaiming your spirit so that her action does not define your identity. The first step is acceptance. Not acceptance that what she did was right. Not acceptance that you deserved it. No, acceptance that it happened and nothing you do today can erase yesterday. This is difficult because the mind wants to resist, to argue with reality, to create stories of revenge or justification, but resistance is what chains you to the pain. Acceptance is what frees you. When you say to yourself, yes, this happened, yes, I was hurt, and yes, I survived, you cut the chain of denial. You are no longer wrestling with the shadow of the past. You acknowledge the wound, but you refuse to let it become your prison. Think of the bamboo tree in the storm. When the winds of betrayal blow, when the storm of disappointment crashes upon it, the bamboo bends but does not cry. Because it accepts the force of the wind, it flows with it. If the bamboo tried to resist, it would snap, so too must you learn to bend without breaking. But acceptance is not passivity, it is strength. It is the warrior acceptance way of saying, this wound will not own me. I see it, I feel it, and still I rise. You may ask, Master, how can I stop the pain? How can I silence the voice of memory? And I tell you, pain is not meant to be silenced. Pain is meant to be transformed. When fire burns, you can either let it consume you, or you can harness it to give you light and warmth. The choice is always yours. Do not run from your hurt. Sit with it, observe it, allow it to speak to you. Every wound carries a lesson. Perhaps the lesson is that you gave too much of yourself without boundaries. Perhaps the lesson is that you ignored the signs because love blinded you. Perhaps the lesson is simply that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. But once you learn the lesson, you must release the pain to continue carrying it. After the lesson is learned, is to walk through life with a stone in your shoe when you could have taken it out long ago. Handling a woman who hurt you does not mean punishing her, nor does it mean running back to her. It means standing tall, looking within and saying, this was part of my journey. It shaped me, but it does not define me. If she hurt you because she was careless, forgive her, not for her sake, but for your own. If she hurt you because she was broken, then wish her healing. And if she hurt you intentionally, then thank life for showing you the true nature of someone who does not deserve the sacred place in your heart. My brothers, the world will always offer you reasons to be bitter, but a man of wisdom chooses instead to become better. Do not let her actions turn your heart into stone. Let it turn your heart into clarity. You now know what you will accept and what you will never again allow. So the first way to handle a woman who hurt you is this: accept the wound but never become the wound, learn the lesson, release the poison, and walk forward lighter than before. Remember, no one has power over you unless you give it to them. She may have written one chapter in your life, but the pen is still in your hand. And as long as you breathe, the story is yours to write. The journey of healing begins with the most difficult yet most essential first step: acknowledging the pain without being consumed by the narrative. When someone you trusted, someone you cared for has hurt you, the pain is not just a sting, it is a profound wound to the heart. It can feel like a physical ache, a weight in your chest, a constant gnawing presence. Many of us try to ignore this pain. We bury it under layers of anger, denial, or distraction. We tell ourselves we are fine, that it doesn't matter, that we are strong enough to simply move on. But like a splinter left in the skin, the unacknowledged pain will fester and grow, eventually poisoning everything around it. The first and most crucial thing you must do is to feel it fully. Do not push the pain away. Sit with it. Let it wash over you. This is not an act of weakness, it is an act of profound courage. In that moment of pure feeling, you are reconnecting with your own humanity. You are validating your experience and acknowledging the reality of your suffering. But here is the critical distinction. Feeling the pain is not the same as embracing the narrative. The narrative is the story we tell ourselves about the pain. It's the endless loop of why did this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? How could she do this? The narrative is where the anger, the blame, the victimhood, and the desire for revenge take root. It's a story in which you are the protagonist who has been wronged, and in which the other person is the villain. While this story may feel comforting in its simplicity, it is a prison. It binds you to the past and prevents you from moving forward. Your task is to separate the feeling from the narrative. Feel the sadness, the anger, the grief, all of it. But when the voice in your head begins to tell the story, to recreate the scene, to rehearse the arguments you never had, you must consciously and deliberately let go. You must tell yourself, this is not who I am. This is what happened. But it does not define me. This is the moment you refuse to be a victim. A victim is a person defined by their pain, a character who is constantly waiting for an apology, a resolution, or a reversal of fate. But you are not a victim. You are a survivor. A survivor is a person who has endured pain and has chosen to learn from it, to grow from it, to move beyond it. Finally, and perhaps most difficult, you must let go of the need for an apology. The closure you seek will not come from her words. It will come from your own strength, from your own decision to find peace. When you wait for an apology, you are giving her the power to determine your well-being. You are placing your healing in her hands, and she may never give it to you. The most profound act of self-love is to release that burden. It is to say, I am not waiting for you to heal me. I am healing myself. My peace is my own responsibility. By doing this, you reclaim your power and begin the true journey of emotional freedom. The natural human response to pain is to react. When we are hurt, we want to lash out, to defend ourselves, to make the other person feel the pain they have caused. This is a primal instinct, but it is one we must learn to transcend. The second keynote is about mastering the path of non-reaction. When you find yourself in a moment of conflict, or even just in a thought loop of anger and resentment, the first step is to recognize the trigger. What is causing this feeling? Is it a text message, a memory, an imagined conversation? The moment you can identify the source of the feeling, you have already taken a powerful step back. You are no longer in the chaos. You are observing it. This act of observation creates a crucial space between the stimulus and your response. In that space, you must pause before you respond. This pause is a sacred moment. It is the moment you can choose a different path. Instead of immediately typing out a vengeful message or saying a hurtful word, you simply wait. You take a breath. You let the feeling pass. This is not about being passive or weak. It is about being a master of your own emotional landscape. You are not a slave to your impulses, you are the one in control. This pause is the moment you disengage from the emotional hook. Toxic and hurtful behavior is often designed to provoke a reaction. When you react, you are giving the other person exactly what they want. You are confirming that they have the power to control your emotions, to pull you into their chaos. But by not reacting, you are taking that power back. You are telling them silently and powerfully that their behavior has no hold on you. When you do choose to communicate, it must be with purpose, not impulse. This means that every word you say or write is deliberate. It is not about expressing your anger or hurt. It is about stating a fact or setting a boundary. A conversation that begins with, "You always do this," is an emotional reaction. A conversation that begins with, "I am no longer going to engage in this kind of conversation," is a purposeful statement. One is an attack, the other is a boundary. A reaction fuels the fire, while a purposeful statement extinguishes it. You are not there to win an argument. You are there to protect your peace. Finally, and most powerfully, you must embrace the silence. Sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. When someone is trying to provoke you, your silence is a clear and unwavering statement that you will not participate in their game. It communicates a strength that no words can. It says, "I am not going to let you drag me into your storm. I am choosing my own calm." The path of non-reaction is not about being a doormat. It is about being an immovable mountain. A mountain does not get angry when the wind howls. It does not argue with the storm. It simply stands, and in its stillness, it waits for the storm to pass. This is your power. This is your peace. My friends, let us pause for a moment and reflect. What does it mean to forgive someone who hurt you? Especially a woman who touched your heart, who stood close to your soul and then left you bleeding with her actions or her words. Forgiveness. This is a word many misunderstand. Some think forgiveness means forgetting, pretending the wound never happened. Others believe it means excusing the one who caused harm, giving them permission to hurt again. But this is not forgiveness. This is blindness. True forgiveness is not for her, it is for you. When a woman hurts you, and you refuse to forgive, what happens inside your heart? Resentment grows, anger festers, thoughts of revenge and bitterness circle your mind like vultures over a battlefield. And the irony is this: she may have already moved on, living her life without a second thought, while you remain shackled by the memory. Who suffers then? Not her, you. Forgiveness is the act of cutting those chains. It is declaring, "You no longer have power over me. Your actions will not dictate my peace. I release you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve freedom." Think about it. If someone poisons your food, and you continue eating from the same plate, who is responsible for your suffering after the first bite? The same applies to emotional poison. If you continue to replay her words, her betrayal, her rejection, you are feeding on the very venom she left behind. Forgiveness is you pushing away the plate and saying no more. But you may ask, "Master, how can I forgive when the pain is still raw? How can I forgive when I feel disrespected, devalued, discarded?" And the answer is this: forgiveness is not a one-time act. It is a process, a daily discipline, a conscious decision. Each time the memory returns, you choose to soften the grip it has on you. Each time anger rises, you breathe deeply and remind yourself, "I am not this anger, I am the observer of this anger." Each time bitterness tries to whisper, "She ruined you," you respond with strength, "No, she revealed me." Forgiveness does not mean letting her back into your life. In fact, true forgiveness often requires distance. You do not need to reopen the door to someone who has already shown you they cannot honor the space. You forgive, but you also protect. You release the resentment, but you also raise your standards. A man who forgives without wisdom becomes a doormat, but a man who forgives with wisdom becomes unshakable. He stands in his truth, calm, centered, untouchable by the storms of betrayal. Now let us go deeper. Forgiveness is also an act of compassion, not only for yourself but for the one who hurt you. Because, my brothers, hear this truth: hurt people hurt people. A woman who wounds you is often a woman carrying her own unhealed wounds. Her betrayal may come from insecurity. Her harsh words may come from fear. Her rejection may come from a heart that does not know how to love itself. This does not excuse her actions. but it explains them, and once you see this, forgiveness becomes lighter. You begin to understand that her actions were never truly about you, they were reflections of her inner battles. Does this mean you must carry her burden? No. But you can set yours down. You can say, I see your pain, but I will not allow it to infect me any longer. Imagine carrying a burning coal in your hand because someone gave it to you in anger. If you hold on to it, you burn. If you drop it, you heal. Forgiveness is dropping the coal. Many men confuse forgiveness with weakness. They think, if I forgive her, she will think she won. She will think I am soft. But I tell you, forgiveness is the highest form of strength. It takes far more courage to release anger than to cling to it. Weak men hold grudges because they are afraid of letting go. Strong men forgive because they understand that peace is greater than pride. To handle a woman who hurt you, you must walk the path of forgiveness, not rushed, not forced, but step by step. You may stumble, you may feel the bitterness return. That is natural. But every time you choose peace over resentment, you grow stronger. Every time you choose compassion over anger, you rise higher. And one day you will look back and realize the wound that once controlled you has no power left. You will remember her actions without the sting of bitterness. You will see her face in your memory without tightening your chest. You will have transformed pain into wisdom, betrayal into clarity, loss into growth. My brothers, forgiveness is not a gift you give her. It is a crown you place on your own head. It is the key that unlocks the prison you built from her actions. And once you walk free, no one can chain you again. So when you ask how to handle a woman who hurt you, the answer is forgive, not because she is worthy, but because you are. Forgive, not because it erases the past, but because it creates your future. Forgive, not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to choose peace over pain. Remember this truth. The man who cannot forgive is a prisoner forever. The man who forgives is free. Healing from a deep hurt requires space. This is not an act of punishment or revenge. It is an act of self-preservation. Our third keynote is on the art of creating distance. This is not about running away. It is about building a sanctuary for yourself. The first step is to establish physical and emotional space. This may mean walking away from a conversation, leaving the room, or in some cases, ending the relationship entirely. It means making a conscious decision to not be in her presence when she is causing you pain. Emotional space is just as important. It means not allowing her words to live in your mind, not dwelling on memories, and not rereading old messages. You must mentally and emotionally disconnect. Creating distance means you must disrupt the cycle of contact. In many toxic dynamics, there is a cycle of conflict, followed by a period of calm, followed by a new conflict. This cycle keeps you tethered to the other person. To break free, you must cut the lines of communication. This may mean muting notifications, blocking numbers, or simply deciding not to respond. This is not about being rude. It is about protecting your sanity. Every time you respond, you are giving the other person access to your energy, and that is a resource you must guard fiercely. You must also limit the flow of information. She does not need to know what you are doing, who you are with, or how you are feeling. The less she knows, the less she can use against you. This is not about being secretive, it is about being selective. The details of your life are a gift, and you should only share them with people who will cherish them, not with people who will use them as a weapon. A key part of creating distance is to not engage in their drama. A person who causes pain often thrives on drama. They will try to pull you into their new conflicts, their new stories, their new problems. They may contact you with a new crisis, hoping that your ingrained sense of helpfulness will draw you back in. You must resist this urge. You must remind yourself that their problems are not your problems. Your only responsibility is to your own well-being. Finally, and most importantly, you must reinvest that energy into your own life. The energy you once spent on her, on the conflict, on the endless loop of anger and resentment, that energy is now yours. Where will you put it? Will you use it to learn a new skill, to reconnect with old friends, to focus on your work, your health, your hobbies? The best revenge is not an act of retaliation. It is the act of living a beautiful, fulfilling life. When you are thriving, when you are at peace, their words and actions lose all power. Their world of chaos becomes irrelevant, and your world of peace becomes your greatest strength. The art of creating distance is not about escaping, it is about finding a home within yourself. We have spoken of wounds and acceptance. We have spoken of forgiveness and liberation. But now we must step further into a realm that few dare to enter: the transformation of pain into power. To handle a woman who hurt you is not only about survival, it is about evolution. It is about taking the fire that burned you and forging from it the steel of your spirit. Many men are broken by hurt. They allow betrayal or harsh words to define their value, their masculinity, their purpose. But the wise man knows this. Pain itself is not the enemy. It is the raw material of growth. The suffering that comes from love lost, trust broken, or respect denied is the very force that can elevate you to a higher level of consciousness and strength if you choose to wield it. First, recognize your pain. Do not diminish it. Do not tell yourself, I should be over it by now, or it's not so bad. Pain is real, and pretending otherwise only buries it. The mind may say, she was wrong, you are right, you were betrayed. But the heart knows the depth of hurt matters not because of right or wrong. It matters because it is your experience. Your suffering is valid, and acknowledging it is the first step in transforming it. Second, observe your pain. When anger rises, when resentment tightens your chest, step back, watch it, examine it, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What truths am I missing in my own life? What boundary was crossed that I did not honor for myself? Every hurt carries a hidden lesson if we have the courage to look. The third step is action. Pain left unchanneled becomes a poison, but pain harnessed becomes energy. Do not seek revenge. Do not try to control her. Instead, redirect that fire into the arenas of your own life. Strengthen your body. Sharpen your mind. Cultivate your craft. Learn skills that raise your value in the world. Become a man whose energy cannot be ignored, whose presence commands respect not through fear, but through mastery of self. When a woman hurts you, it is tempting to seek validation from others. But listen carefully. Validation from others is fleeting. Real power comes from within. When you transform your pain into self-improvement, self-discipline, and inner strength, you no longer need anyone to confirm your worth. You become untouchable, not because you are cold, but because you are centered. Consider the blacksmith forging a sword. The steel is heated, pounded, folded, and tested in fire. Only through intense pressure and repeated shaping does it become strong. Your pain is the fire, your tears are the hammer, and your reflection is the forge. By embracing this process, you become sharper, stronger, and more resilient than you were before. Do not fear solitude during this transformation. The moments when the wound feels heaviest are precisely the moments when your power is forming. Solitude is not loneliness. It is a laboratory for your soul. In silence, you clarify your values, your boundaries, your desires. In solitude, you strip away illusions about love, about attachment, about dependency. And in this clarity, you reclaim the control that her actions temporarily stole from you. Next, understand that power does not require confrontation. The strongest man does not prove himself by anger or aggression. Power is quiet, calm, unwavering. You no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer need to defend against her memory. You simply move forward. letting your actions, your achievements, and your demeanor speak louder than any words ever could. Another essential point, turning pain into power means transforming vulnerability into wisdom. You may have opened your heart and been hurt. That is not weakness, that is courage. But now with the wisdom born of experience, you know what to protect and what to let go. You are no longer naive. You are alert, discerning and grounded in reality. You do not build walls to hide your heart, you build boundaries to honor it. And remember this, power created from pain is magnetic. It draws the right people to your life, opportunities that align with your highest potential, and situations that challenge you in ways that promote growth. The woman who hurt you may have been a catalyst, but she is not your destination. She is a teacher, a spark, a shadow that illuminated your strengths. Finally, share this power with your life. Help others, inspire others, and live fully. The man who transforms his hurt into strength does not carry bitterness. He carries a light that guides him through darkness. He understands the impermanence of people, the imperfection of love, and the eternal value of self-mastery. So brothers, the third way to handle a woman who hurt you is this: do not allow the wound to weaken you. Do not allow her actions to diminish your potential. Harness the pain, forge it into power, and rise above it with clarity, discipline, and unshakable strength. In the end, she may forget you. She may continue her life without regret, but you who have turned pain into power will walk forward as a man reborn. You will carry no chains, only wisdom. You will radiate confidence, not from ego, but from the calm knowledge that no external force can shake your inner foundation. Pain was given to you, not to destroy you, but to reveal the power you have always possessed. Embrace it, transform it, and let it lift you higher than you ever imagined possible. When someone hurts you, they often leave behind a set of false beliefs that become embedded in your mind. They may have told you that you were not good enough, that you were too sensitive, or that you were to blame for the conflict. The fourth keynote is about the profound and liberating work of reclaiming your narrative and defining your worth. The first step in this process is to acknowledge the lies you've been told. These lies may have been spoken directly, or they may have been implied through their actions. You must be honest with yourself and identify every negative belief about yourself that they have instilled. Write them down. Say them out loud. Expose them to the light. Once you have identified these lies, you must dismantle the self-blame. The act of blaming yourself for someone else's cruelty is a common and damaging response. We think, if only I had been different, this wouldn't have happened. But you must understand that their actions are a reflection of their own character, not a reflection of your worth. You are not responsible for their choices. You are not to blame for their behavior. You must consciously and deliberately release that burden of guilt. Tell yourself, I did the best I could, and their actions are not a reflection of my worth. This is the moment you must reclaim your identity. When you were with her, you may have changed to fit her needs, to avoid conflict or to please her. You may have lost sight of who you truly are. Now is the time to remember. What are your passions? What are your values? What brings you joy? Reconnect with the person you were before the hurt. This is not about going back in time. It is about moving forward with a newfound sense of self. You are no longer defined by your relationship with her. You are defined by your own values, your own choices, and your own character. The most important work you will do is to redefine your worth internally. For too long, you may have sought validation from her approval, from her love, but true worth does not come from an external source. It comes from within. You must learn to value yourself, to love yourself, to respect yourself. This is not a process that happens overnight. It is a daily practice of self-care, self-compassion, and self-acceptance. It is the act of looking in the mirror and saying, I am enough, This is a truth that cannot be taken away from you, no matter what anyone else says or does. Finally, you must live your new truth. The ultimate act of reclaiming your narrative is not just to believe these things, but to embody them. It is to live your life in a way that is congruent with your new sense of self. It is to set boundaries, to choose relationships that are healthy and respectful, and to refuse to settle for anything less than you deserve. Your life becomes a living testament to your healing. It is a powerful statement to the world and to yourself that you are no longer defined by your past pain, but by your present strength. We have spoken of wounds, forgiveness, and transforming pain into power. Yet, one essential truth remains: to handle a woman who hurt you is not only about inner work, it is about outer discipline, the setting of boundaries. Without boundaries, even the strongest heart will be vulnerable to repeated harm. Without clear limits, a man risks losing himself again, despite all the wisdom he has gained. Let us first understand what a boundary truly is. A boundary is not punishment. It is not revenge. It is not a wall of anger built to keep the world away. No. A boundary is a declaration. This is who I am. This is what I will accept. This is the sacred space of my heart, and it cannot be violated. It is a shield that honors your dignity and protects your soul. Many men fear boundaries. They think, if I assert my limits, I will appear cold. I will appear unloving. I will lose her forever. But hear me clearly. To compromise your values for the comfort of another is to surrender your soul. True strength lies not in pleasing everyone, but in respecting yourself. The woman who truly values you will honor your boundaries. The one who does not will reveal her true nature, and you are spared further heartache. Now let us talk about the practice of boundary setting. First, clarity is required. Know exactly what behaviors you will no longer tolerate. Whether it is lies, manipulation, disrespect, or betrayal, define it clearly in your mind. Write it down if you must. A man who cannot articulate his limits is a man who will be tested endlessly. Second, communicate your boundaries calmly and firmly. There is no need for shouting, pleading, or dramatic confrontation. Simply state your truth. Say, I will not allow dishonesty in my life, or I cannot engage with someone who disrespects my time and my heart. Notice the calm power in these words. You are not angry. You are resolute. You are not reactive. You are proactive. Third, enforce your boundaries consistently. This is where many men stumble. It is easy to let someone slip past the line because we feel nostalgic, guilty, or afraid of conflict. But inconsistency erodes respect. If a boundary is crossed once and nothing is done, it is likely to be crossed again. Respect for yourself is built on action. Every time you uphold your limit, you reinforce your value. Understand that setting boundaries is not about revenge. It is about self-preservation and growth. A man who loves himself does not allow repeated hurt under the guise of compassion or hope. Compassion is not weakness. Hope is not foolishness. But clarity without compromise is the hallmark of a man who has mastered his own spirit. Let us also speak of emotional boundaries. It is not just physical distance or avoidance. Emotional boundaries involve the regulation of your thoughts and energy. When memories of betrayal rise, when anger resurfaces, when she tries to pull you back into her drama, you must decide, will I engage or will I maintain my equilibrium? Will I allow her shadow to darken my present, or will I stand in my light? The strongest boundaries are both external and internal, protecting not just your body, but your mind, your energy, and your peace. Another vital lesson: boundaries do not require regret. Many men set limits and immediately feel guilt, as though denying someone access to their life is wrong. But hear me now, to protect your heart is not wrong. To honor your value is not wrong. To say enough is not wrong. Regret is the enemy of growth. Stand firm when you enforce your limits, You are teaching others how to treat you, and you are affirming to yourself that your well-being is sacred. Remember this: boundaries also create space for the right people and experiences to enter your life. By letting go of the toxic, you make room for the nourishing. By saying no to repeated harm, you say yes to opportunities for respect, love, and alignment with your highest potential. Sometimes, a man fears that boundaries will isolate him. But isolation is not the enemy. Toxicity: better to be alone and whole than to be with someone who fragments your spirit. Better to walk the path of self-respect than to crawl through life seeking validation from those who do not honor you. Finally, know that boundaries are a lifelong practice. Life will constantly test you. People will push, manipulate, or challenge your limits. But each test is an opportunity to strengthen your resolve, refine your clarity, and deepen your self-respect. When a woman who once hurt you approaches again, your boundaries act as a filter. She may speak, she may act, but only that which aligns with your limits can enter your life. The rest bounces off your shield of self-mastery. So, my brothers, the fourth way to handle a woman who hurt you is this: set boundaries without fear, without apology, without regret. Protect your heart, protect your energy, and honor your own value. Let her actions no longer define your peace, because your limits are unshakable. And know this truth: a man who masters boundaries is a man who masters himself. He does not fear betrayal, because betrayal can no longer penetrate the armor of his clarity. He does not fear loss, because loss can no longer touch the foundation of his self-worth. He moves through the world with quiet strength, calm authority, and unwavering respect for himself. Let this principle guide you. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates. They are gates to peace, gates to power, gates to self-mastery. Whoever respects your gates may enter. Whoever does not is no longer part of your journey. And in this truth, you find freedom, strength, and the wisdom to handle any woman or any circumstance that may attempt to hurt you. The final stage of healing is not about finding an endpoint, but about cultivating a new way of being. Our fifth keynote is about cultivating compassion and embracing new beginnings. The first step is to practice self-compassion. You have been through a difficult and painful experience. You have fought a hard battle. It is essential that you treat yourself with kindness. You would not judge a friend who was hurting, so do not judge yourself. Acknowledge your pain, forgive your mistakes, and be gentle with your own heart. This is the foundation of all true healing. Once you have cultivated self-compassion, you must cultivate a circle of support. Healing is not a solitary journey. You do not have to do this alone. Reach out to trusted friends, to family, to a therapist or counselor. Share your story. Be vulnerable. Allow others to support you and to hold you in your pain. The act of sharing your experience with someone who truly listens is a profound form of healing. It reminds you that you are not alone, that you are loved, and that your experience is valid. And now we must address the most difficult and perhaps the most misunderstood part of this journey: the practice of forgiveness. Let me be clear, forgiveness is not about condoning her actions. It is not about forgetting what happened. It is not about telling her that everything is okay. Forgiveness is an act of radical self-love. It is the act of releasing yourself from the burden of anger, resentment, and a desire for revenge. When you hold on to these feelings, you are still in a relationship with her, a relationship of bitterness and pain. By forgiving, you are cutting the cord. You are saying, I am not going to let your actions continue to poison my heart. I am setting myself free. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. With this newfound freedom, you must embrace the unknown. The end of a relationship, even a painful one, can feel like the end of a chapter, but it is also the beginning of a new one. It is a blank page full of possibility. The future is unwritten, and you are the author. This can be a scary and exhilarating feeling, but you must lean into it. You must trust that you have the strength, the wisdom, and the resilience to create a life that is even more beautiful than you could have ever imagined. Finally, and most powerfully, you must find a new purpose. Your purpose is not about finding a new person to fill the void. It is about finding a new way to live, to love, and to be in the world. It is about using your pain as a source of wisdom, to help others, to create something beautiful, or to simply live a life that is filled with joy and peace. The pain you have endured is not a weakness. It is a profound source of wisdom. It is a teacher. And with that wisdom, you can create a life that is not just free from pain but filled with purpose and meaning. This is your journey. This is your power. And this is your time to begin again. We have journeyed together through pain, acceptance, forgiveness, transformation, and boundaries. We have walked the path of reflection, courage, and self-mastery. Now, we arrive at the final and most crucial step, embracing the future without the shadow of her presence haunting your life. When a woman has hurt you deeply, it is easy to carry the past into every moment of the present. Her words, her actions, her rejection may linger like a shadow behind every smile, every thought, every relationship. The mind whispers, "Be careful, watch yourself, do not trust too easily." And yes, caution has its place, but only when it serves your growth. Fear, bitterness, and obsessive reflection serve no one. They chain your heart to what has already passed. To embrace the future without her shadow is not to erase memory. It is not to pretend that nothing happened. Memory is a teacher, but a shadow is a prison. The moment you allow her actions to dictate your future, you hand over your power. The moment you allow the past to define your possibilities, you become a prisoner of yesterday. The first step is mental clarity. Sit quietly with yourself and examine your thoughts. Notice how often her memory arises and why. Is it fear of repeating the same mistake? Is it longing for what you once imagined could have been? Is it anger that insists on replaying the story endlessly? Observe it without judgment. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. Next, choose your response. You are not bound to react emotionally every time a memory surfaces. You are not obligated to engage in mental arguments with her ghost. You may say to yourself, "This is a memory, it is not my reality. It is not my future." By consciously choosing how to respond to the past, you reclaim authority over your mind. You remind yourself that your future is yours to create. Now consider the power of focus. Energy flows where attention goes. If you constantly turn your attention to her actions, her mistakes, her betrayal, you nourish the shadow. But if you turn your focus to your life, your goals, your growth, the shadow fades. Direct your energy toward health, learning, purpose, and relationships that uplift and inspire. This is the cultivation of your life, not the preservation of resentment. Another essential step is forgiveness revisited. Even if you have forgiven, you must forgive again and again, not for her, but for your own freedom. Forgiveness is a practice, not a one-time event. Each time you feel the shadow rise, remind yourself you are released from the chains of her actions. You are free to move forward. You are free to embrace the possibilities before you. Let us also speak of self-love as protection. A man who has been hurt must replenish his spirit. He must honor himself with care, with respect, with attention. Self-love is the antidote to fear. It is the fortress against manipulation. It is the force that ensures the shadow has no place in your life. When your self-worth is anchored within, external events, no matter how painful, cannot dictate your peace. Then comes the courage to dream again. The past may have left scars, but the future is unscars. You have the chance to envision a life filled with opportunity, growth, love, and respect. Do not let the memory of her betrayal dim your vision. Let it fuel your clarity. Let it remind you of the standards you now uphold. Let it guide you toward experiences that honor your spirit and align with your values. You must also cultivate Emotional detachment. This is not coldness, this is mastery. Emotional detachment means observing your feelings without allowing them to dictate your actions. When anger or longing arises, you acknowledge it, understand it, and let it pass. You do not allow the shadow to linger in your decisions, your interactions, or your relationships. You act from clarity, not reaction. Brothers, understand this truth. The future is a field of infinite potential. It is yours to shape. And the woman who once hurt you is no longer the center of that field. She may exist in memory, but she no longer exists in your path unless you invite her with your energy. By letting go of the shadow, you reclaim the field. You plant the seeds of your own happiness, growth, and fulfillment. Finally, embrace gratitude for the lessons learned. Pain is not wasted if it is transformed. Each hurtful action, each betrayal, each moment of rejection was a teacher. She showed you the boundaries you need. She revealed the strength within you. She offered a mirror to see your own growth. When you look back with gratitude, the shadow loses its weight. You see it as a stepping stone, not a burden. So, my brothers, the fifth and final way to handle a woman who hurt you is this: embrace the future with clarity, strength, and self-love. Release the shadow of her presence. Direct your energy to your purpose. Dream boldly, live fully, and let no memory of past hurt block the brilliance of your life. Remember, life is too vast, too precious, too fleeting to be spent haunted by the actions of another. Walk forward with courage. Walk forward with discipline. Walk forward knowing that your power resides not in holding on to her, but in holding on to yourself. The future is yours. The field is yours. Step into it freely, fully, and fearlessly.